Starting in Zurich, I cycled to Paris, Brussels, Luxembourg and back home to Switzerland. On this tour I visited 5 European countries. I went to many famous places in the cities and of course I spent most of the time cycling through the countryside. The landscapes were absolutely breathtaking. I was very lucky to see many amazing sunsets and I made sure to eat some proper food every once in a while. One of the highlights was meeting new people. Overall, it was an amazing trip, but unfortunately not everything went smoothly.
This night was horrible. I had to puke at about 11 p.m.
I'm so pissed off right now. I can't believe that this just happened.
I started my tour at Lake Zurich. When I started riding, I didn't know yet what challenges awaited me on this adventure. The first few kilometers were not that beautiful, and unfortunately it didn't take long before the first stupid mistake happened.
I just fell and I'm not even an hour in. Look at that.
I was lucky that my elbow wasn't bleeding as well. I had recently bought click pedals and as you can see I needed some time to get used to them. I had quickly stopped and when I wanted to start riding again, I leaned too much to the right. The problem was that I was already clicked in with my right foot, that's why I fell.
There's always something around the corner, something more to be found. And I'm sure the coast of California.
Wow, look at that. So beautiful.
By the way, the Eurovelo 15 follows the Rhine River from the Swiss Alps all the way to the Netherlands. That's also something I considered to do. Previously, I couldn't connect my phone to the drone. I bought a new cable, but it still didn't work. As you can see, I was not amused. At least my wound had stopped bleeding in the meantime. By the way, I have some other good news that I will share later in this video.
Someplace there on feathered wings.
Oh my god, look at that. On the left side it's okay, but on the right side it's loose. And now I can't shift anymore. That's a really big problem. Shit.
I called about 4 repair shops and none of them responded as it was a national holiday. When I finally got an answer, I was very happy. Luckily it was only a small problem, it was an easy fix. That's his contact, I can highly recommend calling him if you have a problem in Basel.
I am listening. You are the voice whispering in my head, shining through the bells steady ringing.
Made it to France now.
I was really excited to explore France by bike. Let's do a short quiz. How many people live in France? Is it 47, 59, 68 or 74 million people? I give you 5 seconds to decide. My guess was C, which is the correct answer. With almost 70 million inhabitants, France is much larger than Switzerland with 9 million. However, the population density in Switzerland is higher because it is a much smaller country. I noticed this difference immediately on my first few kilometers in France. I liked that there was less civilization and more nature.
Barcelona, you're heavy on my heart. Sunburned shoulders, painted in the parks.
Last year I used a Catadin B3. After catching a virus, I decided to buy a new water filter. For this trip I had the Grail Ultra Press, which not only filters bacteria, but also viruses. At that point, I was in the famous Alsace region, which is known for its wine production. There are many cute small villages with beautiful churches. It was a completely different vibe from what I had seen so far.
Something tells me I won't be coming home.
After 90 kilometers of cycling, I found a beautiful spot for the night. I was really hungry, it was time to cook dinner. My gas stove is something I would not like to miss out on, especially when it's cold outside. It's so nice to eat a warm meal. On that evening I was cooking some tasty polenta, which only takes 2 minutes.
And it's ready. Ah, so good.
One of the first things I always do in the morning is pack up my tent. To be honest, this is my least favorite part of the day. But at least it's an awesome feeling when you can finally start cycling. At the beginning of the third day, I was approaching the highest point of the entire tour, which was at only 730 meters above sea level. I spotted a bakery and bought some quiche, an eclair and a sandwich for later. Having eaten not much breakfast, it definitely gave me enough calories to keep going.
I'm in food heaven right now. I'm actually quite full and it was really difficult to decide what to buy because everything looked so good.
I love bakeries in France. It's nice that you find them even in small villages. After the short break, the downhill continued. I was riding on a beautiful cycle path that was far away from the traffic and showed the Alsace from its best side.
Well, I'll be your rainy day lover whenever the sunny days end, and whatever the weather.
In the afternoon I made it to Épinal, where there was some sort of bike festival. They set up a small traffic simulation where children could practice. There were many brands showcasing their bikes, and there was even a small airbag. Épinal is a very beautiful small city, especially the river makes it very scenic. By the way, I filtered water from this river, which will play a role later. After leaving Épinal, I was cycling for another hour, and then it was already time to set up camp.
Another beautiful day over. My stomach feels a bit weird after filtering the water from the river. I really hope it will be okay. Well, a few minutes have passed and it turns out I have diarrhea. I really hope it's nothing serious.
I immediately set up my tent and laid down. I was not feeling well, as you can see. Even though it was not cold outside, I had to use my sleeping bag already. I went to bed without even eating dinner. It was a horrible night. I had to puke at around 11 p.m. I went to the next store to buy groceries. I bought some bananas, a lot of water to rehydrate, and some chocolate milk, which is actually not ideal.
I rode a few meters away from the store and I'm still not feeling too well. That really sucks.
From now on, I decided not to use the filter anymore and buy water instead. I booked a room in a hotel to be able to recover. Unfortunately, I had the stupid idea of eating a chicken sandwich from the day before, which was no longer good. Towards the evening, that made me feel much worse and I even had to puke again. After another full rest day, I ate a tasty breakfast in the hotel. Then it was time to say goodbye and continue my journey.
Thought I'd seen it all too
Once again, I was riding along a canal. When looking at the map, you can see that I had to cycle along this canal for 100 kilometers. I would say it's time for another quiz. How many kilometers of navigable canals and rivers are there in France? Is it 5,200, 6,700, 7,100 or 8,500 kilometers? 5 seconds start now. My guess was B, the correct answer is D. France is one of the most beautiful and extensive canal networks in the world. Once used mainly for transporting goods, today they're a haven for leisure, slow travel and river tourism. At that point, it was not far anymore to Paris.
Let it go. Everything you left unspoken. Let me know the secrets of a heart wide open.
I had thought it might be a huge pain to cycle into Paris because of the traffic, but there's a cycle path along a canal that goes all the way to the city center. It was nice to see so many people running and riding their bikes. It was an incredible feeling when I arrived and saw the river called Seine.
I finally made it to Paris. Let's go!
With almost 130 kilometers, it had been the longest day by far. My timing with the sunset was perfect. I was really happy that I had made it all the way to Paris. The next day I visited many famous places like the Notre Dame and of course the Eiffel Tower. These monuments were incredibly beautiful. I also visited l'Arc de Triomphe, and my last stop was the Louvre, the most famous museum in the world. The next day it was already time to leave the city. Having cycled to Paris, it was now time to head towards Brussels. As it was Saturday morning, the city was surprisingly quiet. I didn't even notice that I was in a city with more than 2 million people.
Golden halo, morning light. Little flower, take your time.
The Parc Naturel Régional Oise is a protected area in northern France with a rich blend of nature, history and culture. It is home to over 1,000 species of plants and 130 species of birds. Despite its natural feel, the park lies just 30 kilometers north of Paris, making it a popular escape for city residents seeking nature and calm.
We could lie here through the cold years, and I will watch you bloom.
As soon as I had found a good spot for the night, I dried my tent in the sun. For dinner I ate some duck, an apple and soy chili ramen as main dish. As you can see, I was very happy. I enjoyed the beautiful sunset and made sure to go to bed early. The next morning I was lucky again with the weather. So far I had been on this trip for almost 2 weeks and it had never rained. Good weather is always important on such a trip. I was hoping that it would stay that way.
All is fire, all is storm. All is not the clouds move. On and on, and on and on. On and on, and on and on.
I had cycled along the canal for more than 50 kilometers before it was finally time to leave it. I went to a grocery store and when I came out, there was a huge escalation on the street. I had never seen so many motorbikes before. That was really amazing and it came out of nowhere. At that point, I was approaching Belgium rapidly. I was very curious to see what awaited me on the other side of the border.
I finally made it to Belgium. This is the first country on this trip I've never been to before. That's so amazing.
With almost 12 million inhabitants, Belgium is bigger than Switzerland, but of course still way smaller than France. I immediately noticed that not everyone greeted anymore. And when riding on the street, the cars were way less hesitant to overtake. In general, it seemed less relaxed compared to France. The forecast called for rain that evening. I really hoped I would stay dry.
Wow, I'm so lucky. I could set up the tent just in time.
At the beginning there was only some light rain, but then it started to escalate. I was so glad that I was in the tent, otherwise I would have gotten really wet.
Oh my god, that's so crazy!
The next day the weather was absolutely fantastic again, which really motivated me for the last few kilometers to Brussels. The last 3 days had been really hard. At that point all the hard work was about to pay off. It was nice to be so close to Brussels already in the morning. There were only about 15 kilometers left to the city center.
To know that I had
3.5 days after leaving Paris, I made it to Brussels. Let's go!
The Grand Place is really nice, but it was full of tourists. It's amazing how much detail the buildings have. Afterwards, it was time to eat. Of course, I had to try a Belgian waffle. Later, I grabbed a beer with a fellow bikepacker. This is Sarah. She is also from Switzerland and was on a 4-month bikepacking trip to Norway. The golden hour made the city even more beautiful. It looked absolutely stunning. The next day it was time to leave Brussels. I really enjoyed my time there. In Belgium, the official languages are Dutch, French and German. As you can see on this map, most people speak either Dutch or French. The German part is very small. Brussels is the only place where there is a mixture of Dutch and French. Now it was time to head towards Luxembourg.
What a beautiful sight. It's all waiting for you. It's all waiting for you.
I'm now following this European cycling route 5. And it's such a game changer not having to check the map all the time.
The Eurovelo network offers around 20 cycle routes across Europe. I was following the cycle route 5, which starts in England and goes all the way to the south of Italy. As it crosses Switzerland, I could basically just follow this route to get home. The signage was very good. I almost didn't have to use my phone anymore. Before, I had to keep looking at my phone, which was a little bit annoying.
It's just the beginning. It's just the beginning.
Every day, it took me at least 30 minutes to find a spot for wild camping. In Belgium, it was actually much harder to find good locations. This has to do with the population density, and there's a lot of private property. The next day it was cloudy. There were even a few raindrops from time to time. I ate lunch in a friterie. You absolutely have to try it when visiting Belgium. By the way, I think now it's time to finally share the good news I mentioned at the beginning of this video. If you want to know more about this trip, you can find an extended 1.5-hour version on my channel. There you will see way more details.
So radiant, wild and free, and the world stops spinning. I lose track of all the hours. There's no place I'd rather be.
When I was riding in this beautiful valley, I was really glad that I had embarked on this journey. Sleeping in the tent almost every night and having limited options for cooking food is always a lot of discomfort. However, in situations like this, I always get reminded why I do it and that it's absolutely worth it.
I believe in a God who loves me well, better than I can love myself. But I can't seem to make sense of grace, and I feel unworthy.
Wow, I'm blown away. This must be the most beautiful part of the whole tour so far, and I'm so grateful that I have the privilege to do something like that. Now it's time to eat some snacks.
I ate some rice cake, some nuts with wineberries, a pear to get some vitamins, and 2 Kinder Moxie to give my body enough calories. At the beginning of the tour, I usually just ate breakfast, lunch and dinner. However, with an average of 90 kilometers per day, I burned so many calories that this was not enough. That's why I started to eat more snacks. I really noticed a difference in my energy levels.
And I believe in a river that never runs dry. Fears washed away in the waters of life. So no more playing it safe at the river's edge.
Made it to Luxembourg, let's go!
I was really excited to explore Luxembourg. With less than 700,000 inhabitants, it's by far the smallest country I visited on this trip. About 50% of the people living in the country were not born in Luxembourg. That's actually one of the highest proportions of foreign-born residents in the world. Luxembourg has its own language. Besides that, French and German are also official languages.
I see forever when I look in your eyes. A love that is deeper than the blue in the sky. You are my heart.
The next day there were only a few kilometers left to Luxembourg City. For the last 30 minutes I cycled with Mike. He's from the USA but has lived in Luxembourg for 15 years. I looked around the city a bit. It was small but quite nice. I was very proud that I had completed another stage. Once again, I had really enjoyed it. It was time to head back to Switzerland. So far the trip had been very beautiful but also quite exhausting. By the way, I will skip a few days so that this video doesn't get too long. The landscapes were breathtaking. Make sure to check out the last episode of my YouTube series if you want to see more.
Been to the mountaintop, drank from the well. We were becoming
Made it to Strasbourg. I'm now right in front of the hostel. I'm really looking forward to a comfortable bed this night.
I had a good first impression of Strasbourg. I went out to eat dinner. It was probably the best meal of the whole trip. After dinner I returned to the hostel. When I arrived I saw that my tent and some of my other stuff had been stolen.
I'm so pissed off right now. I can't believe that this just happened. But I guess I will go to sleep now.
The next morning I went to the police. I was not amused about the situation. Without a tent, I decided to go back to Switzerland by train. After cycling for 3 weeks, it was a very strange feeling to move so fast and watch the landscape fly by. The day before I only took my side bags off the bike. It was really stupid that I didn't take everything with me. However, overall it was still a very nice trip. Next time I would take it more chill though. Most of the time I was in a bit of a hurry.
Trying to keep this poetic flame. If it went out, would I be the same? If I go down, am I the one to blame? Oh, what's the point in trying anyhow?
Wow, I made it. I think I did 1,600 kilometers in exactly 3 weeks, and I didn't get wet once, so I was extremely lucky with the weather, and overall it was just so much fun. But now I definitely need some time to process all of this. Consider to subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.